This summer, SpaceX's huge Starship vehicle might start to take off for real. Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX, just said that the first orbital flight of SpaceX Starship will be in July. In the same set of tweets of June 14th, the billionaire businessman also revealed when the next Starship would be launched. Welcome to Techmo. In today's video, we're going to talk about the latest news that SpaceX just officially announced a new orbital launch schedule. Soon, we won't only fantasize about going to outer space. Instead, it will become a daily activity. We can still remember how worried and frustrated SpaceX got because of all the work, struggles, and, most importantly, money that was put into the Starship project to get it off the Earth and into space, the Moon, and Mars. It was slowly going down the drain because construction was still going on, while the FAA kept delaying SpaceX's permission to launch the giant Starship into space. Elon Musk became so upset with the Boca Chica launch site that he was on the verge of giving up when he decided to relocate the starbase. He continued by saying that even if the FAA is taking a long time to accept the application, SpaceX intends to move Starship operations to NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where the firm is building a new launch tower and already has all the permissions required for orbital launches. Elon Musk initially declared his confidence in his new SpaceX Starship, which was designed for Moon and Mars missions, to enter the orbit of the Earth for the first time in 2022. Musk made this statement in February. Everyone is aware that Elon Musk frequently makes absurd claims. We were not used to believing him, but lately, things have been seeming more and more probable to be real. But thank God the FAA has now authorized SpaceX to send the Starship into orbit. However, the P won't work until SpaceX has done 75 things to decrease the impact of the launch on the Boca Chica environment and the public as a whole. Local wildlife may be directly harmed or killed by explosions and tests that take place on the SpaceX launch site. Because of that, they might be at risk. The United States Fish and Wildlife Service and other groups are anxious that the heat, pressure, and debris from launch testing, which started in 2018, will kill animals or drive them away from their crucial habitat. The FAA will ultimately decide how SpaceX will impact its surroundings, though. One of the reasons the FAA hesitated to give SpaceX permission to launch Starship into space was because they didn't want to endanger the local wildlife. The FAA announced that launches will be scheduled with more advance notice as a result of the restrictions, preventing the need to close roads during launch operations. Additionally, launches will not be permitted on 18 different holidays, and a maximum of 5 weekend launches will be permitted annually. The FAA mandated consistent monitoring of plants and animals, as well as advance notice to local populations of the risk of engine noise and sonic booms emanating from the launch site. The U.S. Departments of Transportation's Federal Aviation Administration, Interior Fish and Wildlife Service, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration all participated in the assessment. The evaluation's objectives are to ensure that space-like operations are carried out safely and to identify any potential environmental impacts. A vast list of safety procedures and regulations must be followed by SpaceX, including safeguarding the habitats of ocelots and jaguarundis, and providing more locations for northern aplomatos as well, to nest. Sea turtles also should be observed. Minimize the harm done to refuge grounds, observe plants, birds, and sea turtles, and report to the service once a year. Every year, inspect the lighting and stormwater and report your findings to the service. Reducing generator noise, maintaining the facility and operation plans, collaborating with the service to shut down the site, establishing a method of alerting the agency when a federally threatened or endangered species is directly taken, and sending annual reports are all important. Additionally, SpaceX will be required to cooperate with a competent biologist to ensure the lights do not harm sea turtles and clean up the Boca Chica beach every 3 months. Along with cleaning up the region around the launch site and supporting local conservation and education initiatives, the corporation will also monitor the well-being of people, plants, and animals. The FAA also advises planting woods and trees close to the launch site to absorb carbon dioxide. A 141-page document titled A Biological and Conference Opinion from the US FWS was provided to the FAA and discusses the potential consequences of SpaceX operations at Boca Chica Beach, as well as what the firm might be able to do to mitigate the harm to wildlife. The US FWS stated that modest measures, such as using Starlink and solar-powered devices to keep a watch on animals around the clock, might be used to mitigate any potential consequences of SpaceX Starbase activities on wildlife. The business claims that by placing the parking area mostly on higher ground and finding, constructing, and processing facilities far from wetlands, SpaceX will be able to protect vegetated wetlands and wind tidal flats. We could learn more about Aplomado falcon's predators, habitat, food sources, and strategies to support and safeguard them with the use of a Starlink satellite. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has even consented to utilize solar-powered Starlink internet terminals to enhance wildlife satellite monitoring. Any government should take responsibility for and pay for essential infrastructure maintenance and improvements, and SpaceX will do both. Additionally, it must collaborate with local, state, and federal organizations to guarantee that biologists are monitoring the launch effects on the local fauna and flora and that all launch equipment is securely removed from vulnerable habitats. In addition to having a beach nearby, the region needs new lighting to reduce the stress it causes for animals. Regular people can still visit the neighboring beach, park, and animal refuge because FAA regulations state that SpaceX cannot develop on the road near the launch site. Things do happen, even though Elon Musk may have had a valid reason for wanting to construct a sizable rocket launch facility close to a wildlife refuge. To some, this might seem like a lot, but rest assured, the FAA's decision might have required a more in-depth analysis of the surrounding conditions, which might have delayed Starship's boots on the ground for more than a few months. To obtain a permit to launch the Starship into orbit, SpaceX will have to convince the government that it complies with the FAA standards for safety risk and financial responsibility. All environmental criteria are also present. However, obtaining an operator license or an experimental permit may take weeks or months after the last P. Meeting all of the P's mitigation standards is a prerequisite for receiving any license or permission to this. A road near the launch point must be kept to a minimum, according to FAA regulations, so that the locals can still access the beach, park, and animal refuge. But in the future, SpaceX might have to adhere to even more regulations and laws. There will be a lot of work for SpaceX to complete, but Elon Musk and SpaceX already have the contract to transport NASA astronauts to the moon, and Elon wants to prepare the Starship for orbital flight. So he must complete these repairs before he can leave Starbase and travel to space. Now, SpaceX must choose whether or not to implement these safety measures. SpaceX is prepared to lose every penny spent on the Starbase and spaceship if they do not follow these procedures in a good faith manner. What options does SpaceX now have? Are you still in favor of SpaceX following all these regulations and launching the Starship from Starbase Boca Chica? Musk also recently shared a picture of S-24 in the high bay. And you already know that SpaceX has finished putting all 33 engines on Booster 7. All of this is an important step toward testing both the ship and the booster, which are already the focus of a highly anticipated orbital test flight that will set the stage for SpaceX's future. Aside from that, the next generation prototypes are being made and put together very quickly.